Hey everybody, just wanted to give you a heads up. Adam and I got a little bit chatty in the opening, and we turned our mini-sode into a full-blown episode. So if you're not interested in hearing what's going on with our hunting lives right now, you might want to go ahead and skip to the 30th minute and check out the interview from there. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Down South Hunting Podcast. I'm Adam Cruz with Mike Higman, and tonight we're going to talk with David Toms. This is going to be a mini-sode about how to hunt out of a saddle. So some of you may be thinking, what in the world is saddle hunting? Some of you already know exactly what I'm talking about. I, for one, have never tried it. Mike, what do you think about it?
I have not tried it either, but I think it's really interesting. Could be something cool to try in the future. I think David had some really good information on it, so not going to try it right away, but it's definitely an idea I'm kicking around in the back of my head.
Yeah, sure. If anyone wants to send us a free one, I think we'll both take them up on the offer. How about that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm up for that.
Yeah. That's probably the only way I'm going to be trying a saddle this year if someone sends me one.
Yeah, we could use another show sponsor. So if you're New Tribe or whatever the other saddle companies are, just send some our way, and we'll send you some love through the Down South Hunting Podcast.
No doubt. Well, Mike, tell me a little bit about what's been going on in your world as far as preparing for whitetail season.
Man, I feel like we haven't recorded in forever. I think it's been like a whole month since we were at the QDMA convention and we actually recorded one of these. So, man, there's been a lot going on. We got the season's right around the corner, man. I'm pumped about it. I feel like I have not done anything, though, that I need to get done before the season starts. This is bad to admit, but I haven't even shot my bow yet. And it's like, I think the season's less than a month.
If all the things that you could have said, that might be the worst.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I'm being honest, man. So
love honesty.
Maybe my distance, my comfortable distance to start the season might be 20 yards. I'm sure I can whip that thing out of the case and hit 20 yards on the regular. So,
I mean, you've been shooting that thing for like 20 years, right?
No.
Maybe
no,
that's
but it is over. It has been shot for over 20 years, just not by me.
I was going to say maybe that's the banner we should use on this podcast episode as your relic.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a picture and put it on the Instagram account of my my bow. Maybe I've been trying to figure out how old it is. I'm guessing it's from 1995 maybe.
Oh wow.
So I mean, they really haven't come up with anything new yet, right? I mean, it's just some fiberglass with a string that shoots an arrow, right? So
that's it.
I mean, why upgrade?
Well, I mean, in all reality, people are out there shooting recurves. I think your bow is going to be just fine.
That's what I'm about. I'm more of a traditionalist.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get into these fancy, quiet bows, lightweight, easy let-offs. I'm more of a traditionalist. I like to challenge myself. But really, I really want to kill a deer with this bow before I get rid of it. So that's my goal this year. It could be a doe or a buck or whatever. If I'm not gonna shoot like, well, it's not legal here, but I'm not gonna shoot like a spike with it. But if it's legal, watch out.
You should. That would look good. I got a bow story. So tonight I was driving by Cabela's. It was kind of a pre-planned stop. I actually had a pro shop that I was going to stop at. I needed to reload on some arrows and I needed a quiver. I also wanted to check the poundage on my bow to make sure that it was where I wanted. I know this is like some last minute tweaks, but make a long story short, my archery shop, my pro shop is about 2.5 hours south of my house. And I'm about 2.5 hours north of my house at this point. The archery shop I wanted to go to, called the guy. He closed down his shop. He's working out of his garage. I really didn't feel comfortable with that. I was like, all right, there's a Cabela's up here. So I drive up to Cabela's. I wait forever to talk to a tech. And I'm like, the first thing I tell the guy is like, hey, I need some arrows. He's like, okay, cool, man. So I go back over the arrows. I pick out the arrows that I want. I'm like, you know what? I didn't check the shaft selector. He said, what's the shaft selector? It's like, well, where you want to check the weight of your arrow. He's like, why would you do that? I was like, okay, there's my first sign, right? So, anyways, I go on Easton's website, I check everything out. I'm like, okay, these are the arrows I want. Now let's go cut them. He's like, okay, well let's measure them. The dude puts them at 3 inches, like longer than they should have been. I have an arrow with me. I'm like, I just let him do it. We checked it. So that was way off. Then I get him to check my draw weight. Sure enough, my draw weight, it's a 70-pound bow, and I backed it off to where it should have been at 65. That's kind of where I want to shoot. And when he checked it, it was like still around 69 or 70. So he picks up the Allen wrench and starts cranking it back. And I have the Allen screws, the bolts, Allen bolts, whatever they're called, marked on my on my limbs. So I know exactly, if you turn one way and you turn the other one the other way, it's going to be like the same amount of turns. It's going to be hopefully perfect, eyeballing it. Anyways, when this guy gets done, man, it's all jacked up. So I'm really scared to get home and start flinging arrows. My timing's probably off. I'm going to be driving 2.5 hours south as soon as I get home.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake, man.
Yeah, I should have just packed up and headed home when he said.
Yes, the arrow thing should have been your hint. Here's your sign, Adam.
Here's my sign. But I just went through with it because I had a bunch of Cabela's points. So yeah, it worked out, I guess.
Oh, so you paid for this?
Yeah,
I guess you paid for the arrows. Yeah.
I did pay for it.
You paid to get your bow out of whack. That's good, man.
Same thing I did last year right before I went on my elk hunt, man. I took it into what was my old Archery pro shop, and he had my cams like leaning by about 1.5 inches in opposite directions. So that's the moment I went and found like a real pro shop that I like to do business with. And if any of you guys live in Tennessee, I highly recommend going down to Tullahoma and Taylor's Archery. It's a good place.
Man, I guess I'm worse than you because I haven't even shot mine yet, and it could be off. But at least I didn't get mine all jacked up 2 weeks before the season started.
Seriously.
Don't worry, I'm sure he'll be able to get your bow right in and out. He probably doesn't have any kind of lead time. He's not busy, I'm sure.
No, yeah, it'll be like I have to go drive back down there and get it a week later.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, what I have to do to shoot my bow, though, I can't just go in my backyard and shoot my bow. I have to put my target in the back of my truck. And when I pass some public land while I'm driving, I'm in sales, so I drive around the state. When I pass some public land, then I drag the target out and shoot, which obviously I need to get some of that in. So, and this weekend I'll get some in. I'm going to be heading up to the property that I'm going to be hunting up at my aunt and uncle's. So, I'll get some shooting in this weekend.
When does your season open?
It's like September 15th. But this is killer. I have a trade show the week that season opens, and the next week I have a trade show. Normally I come home every night for work. But at the trade shows, obviously I got to be out of town doing dinners and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be gone like the whole week and the whole next week. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to hunt opening week or the next week because I'm not going to be home before that. And when I go hunt, it's not like I can go out for the evening. I got to leave and spend the night out because it's 3-4 hours away.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so
that stinks.
The good thing is nobody's pressuring this land, so if it waits another 2 weeks before I can get out there, it's going to be the same as if it was opening weekend probably. Maybe even people pressure some deer off of other land if the neighbors are hunting, but
are you concerned about putting pressure on it yourself early season?
Not really, because it's over 1,000 acres. So it's, I mean, and that's, I've got cameras out. So I put cameras out about a month and a half ago, and I went and checked them about a month ago, and I unfortunately did not get a whole lot of intel from them. I got a few things to talk about with it. One, I did get one spot where I had a bachelor group of 3 nice bucks. So that's good news, but that's the only group of bucks I got. I got a good amount of does and fawns in one spot. And I don't know if you remember, Adam, but we talked about I picked up a mineral block from the Rural King to give that one a shot. So I'm hoping to get some more pictures putting a mineral block out, and that thing definitely backfired. So Do not pick up the 50-pound block for $10 at Rural King and expect to be getting good pictures. So,
that video on Facebook
is
hilarious.
Yeah, I put the video on our Facebook page. It's a good deer repellent, actually. So, if you need to keep deer out of your food plot or something, that might be a good use for that. So some guys commented on that and said I should try burying it. So I'm going to bring a shovel with me next time I'm out there and give that a shot. But to be honest, I don't have real high hopes for that.
Maybe next year after it's like saturated in the ground, it'll be good.
Maybe. Yeah. It was kind of funny though. But so the one camera I put in front of the mineral block, I got like 2 pictures, and they both involved deer running away as soon as they saw it. I had another spot. I got a bunch of coyote pictures out there, and I've talked to my uncle about coyotes before, and he's like, yeah, I don't really mind them. I think they're kind of cool to listen to. So I don't know that there's going to be a lot of predator control going on. And, based on our conversation with Lindsay and some of the other, Daryl, some of the other biologists we talked to, it might not be a whole lot of help anyway, unless I was going to do extensive trapping right before fawning season. But that being said, one of my cameras, I got a picture of a coyote dragging a fawn. So that'll make your blood boil a little bit. But it was kind of, and here's the other, you got to love the stuff that happens with trail cameras. I got my cards mixed up and I formatted the card with the picture on it. So, of course, I can't share that with everybody.
No.
Just take my word for it.
I was going to ask why we haven't seen any of these.
It was kind of blurry, but you could definitely see spots, and it was holding a leg. So it was on kind of a road. So obviously it was like running by the camera. It was one of my cheaper ones, so it wasn't a great photo, but it was definitely a coyote, and I'm 99% sure it was a fawn because I could see spots in a leg. So yeah, I guess I got a couple other pictures to share, but there wasn't a whole lot. I did the old leave your camera on setup mode. I don't know if you've ever done that before. So the spot I was most excited about, I've never hunted it, but it's a spot I scouted once before a couple years ago. And so I came back excited to check the card, and the light was on when I walked up, and that's not a good sign. So anyway, flip that one to on, so hopefully next time I check cameras, we get some more interesting stuff.
It's better luck than I've had with my trail cameras. I have 5 cameras when the year began, and I only have 1 that's actually working and then is still out. And I found that camera off huntinggeardeals.com. Got a great deal on it. But no, it's an awesome little camera.
Wait, that's the one that's working.
Yeah, that's the one that's working. I picked it up for like $36. It's a stealth cam. It's really nice little camera. So I
got on one of those camo fire deals.
Yep. And looking forward to picking that up. But honestly, man, in the coming years, I'm not going to continue purchasing cheap cameras. I think I'm going to try out the Exodus mainly because they got the 5-year warranty and then they got the anti-theft.
Man, don't say that yet until we get them to sponsor us.
Man,
maybe you're angling. Never mind. You're angling for the sponsorship, right?
No, I'm not angling for anything. Yeah. I'm also going to run that stealth cam no matter what because it works. So, but in all reality, I am hunting a lot of public land now, so it'd be nice to have some kind of warranty on it. But I think that's pretty cool. I've never used them, so I'm not really going to.
Yeah, that's it's a good deal they got with it. Or replace your camera for half price. And I know they came up with those new cameras. They're nice cameras if you can put that money down.
Yeah, the pictures look great. The ones I've seen floating around the internet.
This is going to be my anti them sponsoring us. I like going with I would say mid-grade cameras. Mm-hmm. Because of especially looking for deals all the time. I'll try to find a $150 camera and get it for half price. So I'm not using like a bottom of the barrel camera because I've tried a couple of those, and like the one I just told you about, the coyote fawn picture, I'm not going to buy any of those anymore. That was I think I got it for $40, and it might have been on sale for like $10 or $20 off. And a $60 camera, $40 camera. I think if you're just getting into trail cams, it's worth get whatever you can afford because they're fun and you'll get pictures. But as time goes by, you're going to want to upgrade. But for me, I would rather be able to buy the cameras for $75-$80 and get a bunch of them than just get like one cam. I'd rather be able to buy 3 for every one of the more expensive ones. That's kind of the way I see them. Now, someday if I have 25 cameras and don't want any more, then maybe I start upgrading some of those. But I'm a long ways from there right now.
One of my buddies just bought the Bresser, I think it's called, from Walmart. The one you was talking about not so long ago.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That you can get that thing for like under $20.
Yeah, it's under $20. It doesn't have a timestamp, and he's placed it over mineral stations, and the pictures are fantastic for $20, but you just don't get a timestamp. But at least you can kind of see what's coming in. He's got it on public land as well. I mean, it's like a really high pressured public land spot in some ways. I'm not sure that his camera will get stolen because you do have to have a boat to access it. But still, I mean, I thought that was pretty smart. You got to throw out some less than $20 cameras just to see what's out there.
Yeah. A camera like that maybe isn't going to pattern the deer for you, but you're going to be able to get an idea what's out there. So, I think if that's all you can afford, then I would, or if you're just putting it on public land and that's all you can afford to lose, then I'd go for it. I listed those on my site a while back when they were under $20, and I had a few people message me with some photos and stuff they're pretty good.
Dude, I have the genius idea. You go and you buy a cheap analog clock, hammer it to the tree in front of it. When it takes a picture, you're good. Now, you can't be using like Deer Lab or anything with this. It's not going to be that great. So, but at least you know what time those deer are coming through. Make sure you get on like military time. You don't want to confuse yourself.
I think you'll know if it's nighttime, Adam.
Hey, never mind. I was going to send out a free bag of coffee to the first person that sent us a picture doing that, but I'm out of coffee. So.
Oh,
yeah, no, wait, you know what? I'm not either. Shane still owes us an email because I owe him a bag of coffee. And Shane, this is your countdown. By the time we release the next podcast and we hadn't heard from you, we're going to randomly pull out another name, and we're probably just going to do it with someone that we interact with or that engages with us on Twitter. So that's where the next name will come from if Shane doesn't come
Shane
forward.
With a Y. Yeah.
Shane with a Y.
Hey, speaking of the Deals website, it's been blowing up, man. With hunting season getting close, I'm getting tons of traffic on it. I'm seeing there's been a lot of really good deals lately. So if you're not checking it out, make sure you get on there if you're shopping for anything. There's been a lot of really good deals lately. Cabela's and Bass Pro and Amazon, all these places are running special sales for hunting gear, so there's a lot more stuff than normal. And also we got Labor Day coming up. So for Labor Day, I'll put a special page up and I'll list all the deals on one page so you can just find them all in one spot for all the Labor Day sales. I do that for all the major holidays. So make sure you check that out. I'm assuming a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are already coming there, and I really appreciate that. Even if you're not buying anything, just the traffic to the website helps me in the Google rankings. It helps me get more companies that want to sell through the website or let me put links up, basically. So anyway, things are going really well with that, and I appreciate everybody's support on that. That's awesome. I love the site. I'm about to do a gear review on the tree stand that I bought not too long ago. Off your site is like $60 altogether. It was a hang on with sticks. Oh yeah, it's really a nice little setup for $60. So I'm going to be posting a gear review on Chase the Mountain not too long. Yeah, that was one of those guide gear ones, right? Yeah, it's super lightweight for $30 tree stand. I can't remember. I think it's like 14 pounds or something crazy like that. I'll post all the details later. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a couple other things I wanted to go over. Oh, so this just happened yesterday. I'm excited about this. I got somebody lined up to take me gator hunting. I thought that hunt is next week. So hopefully I'll be having some cool photos, and I'm going to try to take some video too. I have a GoPro, which I hardly ever use. I don't know if anybody else out there is like me, but I bought one of those thinking I was going to take tons of awesome video. Man, I never use that thing. So hopefully, it should be pretty cool for gator hunting though.
Yeah, man.
Actually,
I'm excited to hear about that one.
We bought it for was my wife and I's anniversary present to each other.
Oh, what a fail.
Yeah.
There's a knockoff called the
guy,
Seiko. That's a pretty good one.
A camera?
Yeah, it's like it's just like a GoPro. It cost about $60 instead of $400, and the reviews show it working just like the GoPro, and I've used it, and it's awesome. HD sound quality is not bad, but it's like it's I guess a second angle camera for me. I'm going to try to do some self filming this year, and I'm going to stick that one on the tree and kind of film on me while I'm trying to get the deer.
Okay. Yeah. Little second angle high-tech stuff. Okay. So anyway, this gator hunting, the guy that's taking me, he's one of my customers. He's a taxidermist. And he also does some gator hunts on the side, and also he goes quite a bit himself and does a little bit of guiding on the side. So, I'm pretty excited about that. Billy, who we brought on earlier, he had offered to take me, but he's booked up. So, and neither one of these guys is from like really close to this area. But the guy that's taking me is at least a little bit closer. So we're working on getting that lined up. I'm going next like a week from today. So man, I'm excited about that. I was really getting kind of down because I really did not do a good job planning ahead for it. I didn't have a lot of the gear or a boat. And I had some people offer to help me out a little bit, but it's a little tougher than I thought it would be to figure out where to go. So anyway, should be exciting news next week, hopefully. And,
can we expect some Instagram stories from you?
Maybe. Man, Instagram is not my specialty, but I'm gonna work on it.
You don't even have to like talk.
Once in a while, but
yeah, just do the story. Yeah, just do the stories thing. It would be great.
Okay,
that would be a good one. We don't even have to see you talking. Just film you shooting a gator or something, pulling it out, if you get your finger bit off or something, that'd be great. Put that out there.
I'll try. I'll see if I can make that happen. I don't want to be copying Dan Johnson from Nine Finger Chronicles. I'm going to try to keep all my fingers. I don't want to be a poser and try to be like him.
If you do it, you have to one up at me and go for two.
You got to at least lose two fingers. Okay.
And we digress.
Yeah. So one of the reasons it's been quiet for so long is we've been working on the scent control podcast, which we mentioned in the last episode that we got it coming up. So we already had both our interviews with Dan in Fault and John Eberhardt talking about scent control. And let me just tell you, listeners, there's some good stuff in there. So I'm really excited about it. What I'm doing right now is editing a mix. We interviewed those guys separately, but I'm kind of mixing the interviews together so you can hear both their opinions on the same thing at the same time. So it's taken a little bit of time to do it, but trust me, it's going to be worth the wait. So I've kind of talked about what I got coming up. What about you, Adam? You got any plans for the next couple weeks? What do you have left to get ready for the season besides getting your bow fixed?
Well, as long as my bow is up and running, I have some bad news. I've had to cancel my Colorado trip for some personal reasons, and really kind of down and out about that because 2 years ago when I made my first trip back out west to go to Montana and then to Colorado again, it's just been something that's kind of, drove me all year to do things like working out, staying engaged in different aspects of hunting. And to not be able to go this year was a disappointment. But, I'm actually trying to re-engage into some different things that I might be able to do. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm thinking that I might do some Kentucky public land deer hunting. And if I'm able to do that, that's like, something I've been wanting to do for the past 5 years, and I just haven't pulled the trigger on doing it. But I've got 3 WMAs picked out. I've been looking at maps for all month. I mean, I have within these 3 WMAs, I just have maps everywhere. Specific tree stand locations already picked out. It's just a matter of getting out there and maybe doing some hunter scouting during their season. So maybe like the opening weekend, I'm thinking about driving up there and just seeing if seeing where everyone's at. That way, if I decide to go the next weekend, I can kind of dodge the crowd and also see, what WMAs are actually receiving a big impact of hunters. So I'm really pumped, man. I'm more excited about deer season this year than I have any other deer season probably in the last 5 years, just because I was so amped up about going elk hunting. That kind of goes away, and then I look and see what else is around me. Like, I've got more property to hunt than I've ever had in my entire life. I got property close to me. I have an opportunity to go hunt out of state still. I still have an opportunity to go to North Dakota. I'm not really sure if that's going to happen, but it's out there. So I've got a lot to be thankful for. So I'm looking forward to the deer season more so than I have in a really long time. So that's exciting for me.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. So have you hunted public much, even in Tennessee or Kentucky at all?
No. This is I've hunted a lot of new properties throughout the years, and I have hunted public land, but it's always been on a doe killing mission. So just, kind of fill the freezer type of hunts. And I've never really put a lot of stock into just going on a lot of public land and trying to kill big deer. So that, in a sense, is kind of new for me. I'm still going to try to go on a couple of public land hunts here locally in Tennessee to, kill a couple of does. But the majority of my hunting this year is going to be with a bow. I'm going to try to drop the rifle. Only going to go on, I'm thinking, only one rifle hunt this year. That's opening weekend of gun season in Tennessee. And the rest, I'm going to try to stay dedicated to the bow. So make it a little bit more fun for me. Trying to make it a little more challenging, I guess. Not that it's not challenging for me. It's not like I'm some great hunter, but I do I do enjoy the bow hunting aspect more than I do rifle.
Man, that's going to be fun to talk about. And I know you said earlier this year you wanted to try to get a Pope and Young with your bow, so that would be awesome if you could do that on public land up there in Kentucky, or you never know, maybe right there in Tennessee. The world record buck was shot right there, in your county?
Yeah, it was shot right in the same town that I live in.
Well, there you go. You should go hunt that place.
The record before that, the state record, was actually killed about a mile away from where that guy killed that particular, the world record deer. And so right in that little area is pretty banging, and it's only about 6 miles from the public land that's offered in that same town.
Man, so we already talked about this some. I think there's just not public land right around you, though, right? I mean, that's all private that those deer get killed on.
It's like skinny little slivers of land around the lake. If you've ever seen like lake top WMAs, there's usually like some Army Corps of Engineer property and some maybe like some WMA property. A lot of the strips may not be 25 yards, say, from the water line, the shoreline there, whatever you call it. And there's just not a lot to offer. There is one steam. It's called the Gallatin Steam Plant. There's about 200 acres, but I mean everybody in town's hunting that, so it's archery only. So that's pretty cool. If you can
find like a overlooked little sliver, though, man, that could be. I mean, obviously it's not going to be what you hang your hopes for the whole season, but that'd be pretty cool to find a spot near the house and just hit it a couple times during the season. You never know.
Yeah, that's kind of. We'll see what happens.
So what's the schedule like? Because I know you've got that family property as well that you go down and hunt. Like, what are you thinking for the opening couple weekends?
Opening couple of weekends will be, if it happens, it will be Kentucky for sure. Anything in September and October, I'm thinking I want to do all public September and October, because I do not want to set foot on the property, first of all, that I know, and that's home. Those deer get up. There's not a lot of ag there. There's no ag there. It's cattle. It's a cattle farm, and then we have a lot of big type timber around it. And it's pretty thick. So I want to get in there like during the rut. I don't want to stir or bump anything. And also for the property that I'm hunting close to home, it's kind of the same way. There's not any ag. Getting in there, you might bump a lot of deer during these months. So I'm going to be really, really picky about when I hunt my good locations. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. Just being really, really picky this year. I may not even hunt as much as I want to, because I really want to do things the right way this year when I'm trying to kill deer.
Yeah. Man, hopefully we get some good interviews during the season too, to kind of help us along the way with what we're doing. And I can't tell you how excited I am about this season. So I know most of the people listening to this podcast probably feel the same way, because they're listening to hunting podcasts.
Yeah.
Which,
No
which
doubt.
speaking of, let's get to this interview. Just as a quick reminder, this is a cut we had to take out of our interview with David Toms back for episode 8, where we talked about hunting whitetails on Texas public land. David has been hunting almost 40 years, and he does so with a trad bow, and most of his hunting's done out of saddle tree stand. So let's hear some more about what he has to say about that. Kind of going along with you using a traditional style bow, I know you also hunt out of a saddle a lot. Can you go into a little bit about what a saddle is and why you use one, what some of those advantages might be?
There's many. I've hunted out of lock-on stands ever since Baker came out with the first climbing type stands. I hunted out of
the
them.
Baker Widowmaker.
You know, I actually made a homemade version.
Even
I think
better.
on my online journal, I told about it. I didn't have the money, so I tried to make one, and I was up in a pine tree in East Texas, and I slid about 30 foot.
Yeah, it was back before safety harnesses too, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what a safety harness was back then. Some of the things we did back then, I'd never encourage people to do nowadays. But the saddle, to me, first of all, I just shoot better out of it. I shoot instinctively, and for some reason, I just shoot better out of it. But I can't sit in a traditional tree stand all day long without my back just hurting, and I certainly can't do it day after day after day. I just do much better out of the saddle. I also find it a lot easier to get 360-degree shooting with the setup I'm currently using. It's quieter. I don't know how many times I had a stand creak or pop on that aluminum grating or something at just the wrong moment, or a little bit of shift or whatever that kind of cost me. You know how it is when it's 10 degrees outside those crisp, cool mornings. It seems like everything's amplified.
Not here in Florida. Don't get a lot of 10-degree mornings, but I can imagine.
So for me, and because I hunt in so many different terrains, we don't have these nice, beautiful 60-foot tall, straight elm and oak trees that you can take a climbing stand up. I hunt in mesquite bushes sometimes that are branches everywhere. So a saddle in the platform that I'm using now, and even the strap-on steps, I just was able to get more trees. I don't look for the perfect tree as far as what's perfect to get a stand in. I look for what's the perfect tree to kill a deer from. And then I use equipment that allows me to hunt in that tree.
Can you give us a quick rundown of what a saddle is? Because I know when I first started seeing the name saddle, I imagined something that you like drape over a big branch and you sit on like you ride a horse. Now I figured it out eventually, but I know there might be a lot of people out there that are just scratching their heads like, well, what's the saddle thing all about?
Yeah, to me, the best description, and this is very simplified, would be out on the playground, those old leather swings. It's kind of like sitting in a swing. And then you put a platform on the tree to where you can stand up and get some of the pressure, because if you put all that pressure on your rear all day long, you're going to tire out. But it's really like sitting in the swing. And that's basically how I hunt in mine today. I use a modified homemade saddle that we make from what's called a sit drag. And it's really like sitting in a swing. That's the closest description I can get. You can walk around the tree. You're not limited to being on one side of the tree. And of course, that swing is attached to the tree with what we call a tether that goes around the tree and then hooks onto your saddle. So it's just a mobile swing that allows you to walk around the tree if you need to. And if you couple it with the platform that I use now, you can actually even turn 360 in your saddle and shoot directly behind you. So, I don't how many times you set up in a portable tree stand and the deer sure enough comes from the direction you don't expect and you can't maneuver, or there's a branch in the way, or the tree itself prevents you from a shot, especially with traditional equipment. So to me, a saddle was just a more efficient end to the mean. And for me, it was more comfortable.
If somebody wants to find out more about saddles and maybe how to set one up and which is the best one to get and how to tie to the tree and all that stuff, where would you send somebody to get more information on that?
I would go to saddlehunter.com, I believe it is what it's called. There's a lot of good information on the forums there and stuff. I will tell you right now, all you listeners out there, do not do what I do. My saddle don't have a. So it's just like sitting in a swing, and I've been doing this for a number of years and stuff. So I would never recommend to do it like what I do. I do wear what's called a rock climbing harness now, or the last year I did, to where I can attach that in as well. But I like to be able to rotate completely in my saddle. So the saddlehunter.com's got just all kinds of neat designs. A lot of the guys over there are making their do it yourself type saddles and stuff. And if I was going to buy one, I would probably buy I think it's called the Arrow Hunter from New Tribe.
Okay.
That it's a little pricey, but the workmanship on that saddle is awesome, and it's made for hunting. So that's a good saddle if someone just wants to get started in it without making their own.
And I guess with the saddle, you're using it instead of a tree stand. So I know tree stands can be pretty pricey as well. So if it's an either or type option, then
right,
maybe that helps with that price tag. Probably if you look at it like a harness, it's probably expensive. If you look at it like a tree stand, maybe not so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, you get a couple lone wolves and you're right in there. What I do also like about the saddle is I can roll that thing up in my backpack, and I do have some sticks that I carry. Me personally, there's ways to get in a tree that you don't have to use sticks, but all my stuff is in my back or attached to it, and I can go. Where when I was carrying the stands, I used to, for some of the younger guys, they may not know what a Screaming Eagle tree stand is, but that was one of the first really well-made portable stands that Paul Bruner was making out of Montana for a while. But good gosh, that thing with the chain and everything probably weighed 20-something pounds. Just that alone. So my saddle weighs less than 1.5 pounds.
Adam, I know we probably got some gears turning with you there. You got any additional questions for David?
I have a lone wolf. It's a hang on, and I converted to that from a Summit Viper this past year because my climber, I had a malfunction and the bottom half fell down. So this year I was like, okay, I'm going hang on the whole time, but I'm also trying to film. I'm carrying the stand. I've been mobile. Last year I was mobile probably 80% of the time, and it was too much weight. So I really got my wheels turning on just looking into and really getting into the saddle hunting. So yeah, I don't really have any questions around it, but I am kind of excited to check it out. I haven't gave it much thought before now.
If you want some good videos introductory, John Eberhardt puts out some videos on using a saddle that are pretty good.
What type of platform do you use when you're using a saddle?
Well, it really depends. Where I can, I like the preset trees. Right now, I've probably got 200 trees that I can hunt out of that. Some of them are prepped, and I'll use the gym steps on some of them. Most of the public land, I can't use screw-on steps, but where I can, I'll go ahead and put a ring of steps, at my hunting height on those. But most of the time, I'm either using a strap with the old plastic Ameri steps on them, 4 or 5 on them, and I just ratchet them around a tree. But in the last 2 or 3 years, if you go over to saddlehunter.com, I kind of designed a platform that people call the Dave T 1963. I'm not the first person to ever think of this stuff, but it's basically a lone wolf seat that we flip upside down and use that as a platform, and then we strap that to the tree. And I've actually got some videos out on YouTube that show that platform and the advantages of it for me. With traditional bow, I can shoot completely around the tree. I can turn 360. I can take my weight off with it. It only weighs, I think, 3 pounds at the most. So I use 3 modified helium sticks, and I use that, and with my saddle, and all together, I think I'm under 10 pounds. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
For all of it put together.
I know from watching your videos, you do a lot of tinkering and figuring. And do you have maybe a couple quick tips you can give to guys to maybe lighten up their setups, or maybe just things that you would look at first for guys that want to lighten their loads?
I spend a lot of time in the tree, and I'm always trying something, and it don't become. It's not too hard to figure out. Well, this just don't work. What if I did this? So I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt, process improvement. So it's just the way I'm wired. I'm always looking at, well, how can I make this better? All my equipment, whether it's from a noise standpoint, from a comfort standpoint, cutting weight, looking for ways to cut weight out of my gear. It's just something I do. So what I tell people is take a logbook in your tree stand, and of course you're recording your hunt and all the info from that and stuff. But also, pay attention to your equipment. If something's not working for you, you're like, this kind of gets in my way here, or this is a little bit too heavy. Spend some time thinking about it and asking yourself, well, how can I reduce this weight, or how can I make this more quiet, or how can I make this more comfortable? And you'll be surprised what you can come up with when you spend enough time sitting there in a tree with not much else to do. I just like to tinker.
What type of learning curve is involved with using the tree saddle? So I'm looking at one online right now, and I'm looking, you have your tree strap, you have your lineman's belt, you got everything hooked together with what's called a Blake Hicks friction knot. So I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing all these ropes and knots, and I feel a little overwhelmed just looking at it. How much time do you think it would take for a novice or a beginner to get into using a tree saddle and really feeling comfortable with the process from A to Z, or how much practice should be done in the preseason?
Well, I'll tell you, it never replaces practice. But, if you were to buy the Aerial Hunter complete system, you could be climbing a tree that day. To get into some of the fight, like some of us use what's called a rope man or Kong duck descenders on our, instead of the Prusik or the Blake hitch, to do our fine adjustments. You'll learn that over time and stuff as you tinker with it and get on that saddlehunter.com and watch some of the YouTube videos. But boy, you can pick up a saddle now and be fairly proficient and comfortable by hunting season. I would guess most people could do that pretty easy. I practice a lot in I think I've already mentioned I prep a lot of trees every year. So in February, March, and April, I'm constantly in my tree saddle and using my sticks just like I do when I'm hunting. And I really have this ingrained. I can climb a tree with my sticks, set my platform, get in my saddle without any light. But that's from years of doing it over and over again. And then something else I do is I always make trips to the stands I'm going to hunt for that coming year in August and do some final prep work, because as you know, down south we have long growing seasons. You prep a tree in February and you go to hunt it in November, you're going to have some bad shooting lanes down where I hunt. So you've got to do some prep work. So, I'm using mine 5, 6, 7 months out of the year. So, I'm pretty familiar with it, but it's really not as complicated as it seems. The knots are really pretty easy to learn. My basic system, I've got my tree tether it's probably a 12-foot piece of rope, and it's got 2 figure-8s on both ends. I wrap it around the tree, run the one end back through one of the figure-8 loops, and that becomes my tree tether. And then I've got a rope man on there that attaches to my saddle. So that's really the only knots you really have to know. The rest of the saddle is pretty, if you buy the Arrow Hunter, what we call the bridge and all that's already on there and tied in. But, there is a learning curve to it. There definitely is. Learning how to get comfortable in your saddle while you're at hunting height will take some practice too. You'll find that, a lot of guys back in the early years were doing the real high above your head hookups, and they were always complaining about back pain and foot pain on the pegs. And I listened to John Everhart, and he told me get that down. So my attachment to the tree is right about eye level, and I'm more leaning into the saddle. And so I've sat 16 hours in a saddle for several days on a row, and I can actually sit in them more comfortably than I can the lock-on stands now.
Yeah, that's tough to do in a regular stand.
Oh, it's killer on my back anymore. I can't do it. And don't get me wrong, I still have my lone wolf stands, and I love them. That was probably that solid aluminum platform was probably one of the big game changers in tree stands. What's his name? Andre, I think, up in Wisconsin when he first came out with them. There was nothing like it. And if I was going to use a tree stand, I still do occasionally. It's definitely a lone wolf.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of guys that are real focused on mobile go with those just because of they're lightweight and comfortable and quiet, but they're pricey.
Yep. They are that, but some of my recurves and longbows are pretty pricey too. So I don't skimp on equipment. That's one thing I will say. A lot of guys take the shortcuts a lot of times, even with scents and stuff like that, and I just don't. I find something works. If it's light, there's certain criteria I look for in hunting equipment. The very first one would probably be lightweight. The second one is definitely quiet, and then comfort would probably come after that. And of course, safety is always in there. But I'm just not going to skimp. If I find something that works, even if it's the most expensive thing, and it's comfortable, quiet, and safe, and lightweight, I'm going to invest in it.
Adam, that interview was a lot of fun. We already did a whole episode with David, and this was just something that we were able to cut out of it because we had so much good content. We wanted to bring this a little bit separate. But I think the idea of hunting out of the saddle, especially if you're on public land, is really cool. Do you think that's something that you might eventually do?
Yeah, I think I will. I think it's going to take me making an investment in getting a saddle, but I've heard John Eberhart talk about it so much, and I put a lot of thought into it. I think it's worth a try. There's another guy out there. I don't even know his name, but he's got a website or a YouTube channel called DIY Sportsman, and he's always, hunting out of a saddle and doing some modifications. Obviously the DIY guy, but yeah, I'm interested. How about you?
Yeah, he's DIY Sport. That's a YouTube channel, so you can just check that out. He's got some really good stuff on there. And I should know the guy's name, but I can't remember it right now. He's on the Hunting Beast website as well. But I would say it's something I'm interested in, but not quite ready to do yet. I will say, I think 2 years ago, I switched to using a climbing harness instead of a standard hunting harness, and I would definitely recommend doing that.
Now, when you say a climbing harness, you mean like the mountain
rock climbing,
like rock
yep.
climbing, yeah.
So the rope's actually in front of you, but really if there's enough slack that you can just turn around and sit down on your stand, it really comes in handy. You can tighten up that knot and be able to lean back against the rope. It really opens up a lot of movement for you, and you don't have that thing hanging down in your face that you normally do when you wrap the tether around you on a regular hunting harness. So I really like being able to do that, and it really helps. It's a lot more convenient if you're using a hang-on and sticks, and the lineman's belt goes around a climbing harness real well. So you can pick one of those up for like $40-$50, and whenever they go on sale, I usually list them on the Hunting Gear Deals website.
Okay, I'll buy one of those before I buy the saddle, so make sure to tag me in that next.
Yeah. Okay.
Next sale.
You got it. So I guess right now the thing is, like, I'm into hunting whatever's open. So if bow season's open, I'm hunting bow. If muzzleloader's open, I'm hunting muzzleloader. If it's rifle, I'm hunting rifle. I haven't had this pile of success where I feel like I need to limit myself. So the thing about like a saddle, it seems perfect for bow hunting, but rifle hunting, I would rather have a stand and some kind of rest and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of one of my hesitations in switching over, and it is a significant investment. I think a saddle's like $400 to $500.
Yeah.
So I think David mentioned in the episode how much it was, but yes, that's the price of a couple stands. And if you have a saddle, you basically don't need a stand anymore because you can go anywhere with it. And the other thing is hunting public land. The land that I hunt, you can't put anything in the tree. So I think it makes it a lot more complicated if you have a bunch of strap-on steps and stuff you have to use to get up, you almost, to me, might as well have the stand then. But I know John Eberhart uses mostly screw-in steps, and if you could just have a pile of screw-in steps in your backpack and that saddle, that probably could cut a ton of weight out.
Yeah, and he goes in before the season too and puts those screw-in steps in, right?
Yeah, so I think he only carries like the bottom 6 steps with him. So yeah, that's that much less that you have to carry. I'd be interested if we have any listeners out there that either hunt from a saddle or have tried it. Hit us on social media and just kind of give us your comments on it. And I'd be interested to see a discussion going on that. Maybe I think Facebook would be a good place for that.
I really think I'd use the climbing sticks. I think that's the way I would go.
Using the sticks and then the saddle?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to see some different ways of using it, but yeah.
The thing is, I think if you get on that Saddle Hunter forum, the people that are into saddle hunting are really into figuring things out and doing things themselves the best way. So there's probably a ton of different ideas on how to do stuff. And if somebody has a question or idea how to do something, there's probably somebody on there that's done it before. All right, man. So we got 23 reviews now, but any more we can get would still help us in the rankings and really help the podcast out. So please, if you haven't done it yet, give us a review on iTunes or on Stitcher, which I think we've only got one, which I don't know how we're going to do that coffee offer with one review. So we're still quite a ways from 10.
Well, whoever it is, if Shane doesn't work out, then we have the second one.
Yeah, that's
second
true.
possible winner.
Maybe give it to the one person that gave us a Stitcher review.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not looking at it right now. If you're the guy that gave us a Stitcher review, send us your contact info, and if we don't hear from Shane, you win.
Yep, you're the backup.
So, and the other thing is, that Scent Control podcast, I'm hoping to have that out within the week. So keep an eye out for it. If you're subscribed, you're going to get it as soon as it's out. But we'll be announcing on social media as soon as we know when it's going to drop. And I think we're going to be breaking that up into 3 different episodes because we got a ton of content out of those interviews. So hopefully that's something you're interested in. I know it was really interesting to me to hear those 2 totally different perspectives on scent control. So be looking for that sometime the next week. That's it. You got anything else, Adam?
That's a wrap for me.
All right. Somebody sent us a tagline that we could be using on, I think they sent it on Twitter, but I can't remember what it was. I remember thinking it was pretty good, but give us some more ideas so we got some to choose from if you got a good tagline for us to use, because we're not using that other one anymore.
We're not even going to mention it or speak it.
Yeah. All right, man. Have a good one until next week. Dang it. Don't have a tagline. See ya.
See ya.